Right, stop me if you've heard this one before. A TV manufacturer promises you an absolute game changer of a TV, packed with all the high-end features, but at an incredibly low price point. Usually, there's a catch, right? Well, TCL claims that the C7K mini LED TV is the one that will actually deliver. So why don't you join me in this video while we have a look at this TV and see if any of those claims are actually true. Hello and welcome back to the channel. I'm Phil Hinton and today we're diving into what TCL claims is their sweet spot in the UK TV lineup, the C7K QD Mini LED TV. For a brand that aims to be the leading disruptive force in the UK TV market, this set is their manifesto but in hardware form. Now, before we get stuck into why this is such a bargain for performance and price point, thank you once again to everybody who has subscribed to the channel recently. It really is appreciated. If you want to help us build the channel and provide you with more TV, AV and hi-fi reviews from myself, Tim, and of course Ed on the hi-fi side, then please remember to like this video and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already done so. Lots of you are watching the content that aren't subscribers, so please do take that second there and just hit that subscribe button. You can also read the full in-depth review of the C7K on AVForums.com, where we go into more detail than we can cover in this video, and we also publish our reviews first on the website, with our videos appearing on YouTube a short time later. Also remember that our reviews are never sponsored. We bring you honest and unbiased reviews to help you make the right buying decision. And AVForums is also one of the largest AV and hi-fi communities on the web, so why not head over there and check out what like-minded tech enthusiasts are saying about this TV and more at avforums.com. Now, let's forget the soft sell. Here's the brutal truth on this TV up front. The TCL C7K, particularly this 55-inch model at just £649, significantly undercuts most of the similarly equipped competitors out there. I can tell you right now that I can't think of any direct competitor in the UK at this price point that matches the combination of performance and features. It's a certified best buy in my opinion. Let's talk about the design and construction. Now, the design is sleek with a nice gunmetal grey finish and the build quality feels solid. There's no budget plastic flex here. It is plastic, but it feels good. It sits on a central metal-faced plastic stand, which is perfect for smaller AV furniture. TCL is offering this model at a staggering 7 screen sizes, so it starts at 50 inches and it goes all the way up to a truly cinematic 115-inch behemoth that will cost you a very reasonable £7,499. That's a 115-inch TV for £7,500. That's incredible scale for the money. And inside, it uses TCL's self-produced CSOC HVA VA panel. Now, that's really good for native contrast. It uses halo control technology and it manages the mini LED chips. The 55-inch unit that we're testing here has 720 dimming zones. Now, that's not the highest number ever, but for this price point, it's pretty phenomenal. TCL even uses what they call colourful quantum crystals for their version of QD Mini LED TV, and it's all driven by their Pro processor, the AIPQ. TCL is also not shy about talking about what's inside their TVs, how many zones it has, what the local dimming algorithm does, everything about the mini LED chips and so on. And it's really quite refreshing, that honesty in this industry. It's nice that a manufacturer will actually tell you what's inside their TVs. Now, for the picture quality data, we measured this set using our Calman colour calibration software, a Meridio 7 generator and a Klein K10 meter, which was profiled to a Jetty 1511 high-res spectral. I've been calibrating and reviewing TVs for over 20 years, and I'm trained and certified by the ISF, THX and PVA, so you really can trust these numbers. Out of the box, filmmaker mode was slightly inconsistent. We saw a noticeable lack of red energy and an excess of green and blue. Now this was easily rectified by calibration, but TCL, we just need you to calibrate these in factory. They're just a little bit better. Crucially, despite a few of the delta E points exceeding the visible threshold of 3 on the graph, these minor inaccuracies were not discernible when you were actually viewing film content, so it's more of a graphical issue on the graph than one that you'll notice in real-world viewing. Once calibrated using CalMan AutoCal, the results were excellent, but come on, let's be honest here, at £649, you're not getting this TV professionally calibrated. Professional calibrator will probably charge you around half of that amount, but they then spend thousands and thousands and thousands on their equipment and, of course, their experience. And it's the same stuff that we use here for review. So you're not going to do that. So out of the box, they really need to make sure that filmmaker mode is accurate. And to be honest, to your eyes, my eyes, and anybody else watching this TV, it looks very, very good. And really, for the vast majority of people who buy this TV or will go out and buy this TV, the SDR performance, that's all they ever need, because they'll be watching streaming services and so on. And many of them will probably don't upgrade their subscriptions to get HDR. But this TV actually is really good and really impressive with HDR numbers. Now, if you look at the 10% window, we measured 1,672 nits, 5% was 1,788 nits, and full screen brightness was 655 nits, which is a lot of brightness under that bonnet or under the hood. And this is why it works incredibly well in a bright room, where you can up the brightness to combat the brightness in the room and get a really nice bright image. Now, TCL are also fully agnostic when it comes to supporting HDR formats. So you get HDR10, HDR10 plus Dolby Vision and Dolby Vision IQ. And when we look into the details of our testing, which you can do on the full written review, I'm going to touch on it very briefly here. PQ EOTF tracking was very, very good, but there is a slight downside in terms of anything over 1,000 nits. It is clipping the finer detail, bright details. However, Dolby Vision is much better in terms of the tone mapping because it uses dynamic metadata. And that means that when you're watching Dolby Vision content, you're getting everything that the TV is capable of showing you in that format. With HDR10, it does clip over 1,000 nits with certain content. Wide colour gamut is also very good, but it does come up short of the DCI P3 colour gamut. It measures in at 90% XY and 96% UV for P3. We would have liked a wider result from a quantum dot display, but again, this TV is designed to a price point and it doesn't really overly affect the HDR performance for most content out there, which will be mastered at 1,000 nits. So this TV will certainly cover that, and the tone mapping works perfectly for that. And of course, moving on to picture quality, and there is no such thing as a perfect TV. I know I sound like a broken record when it comes to these reviews, but that is the case. It doesn't matter if you're buying a £10,000 TV or a TV that costs £600. There is no such thing as perfection. So let's cover off some of the slight negatives of this TV. And the first one is DSE, or dirty screen effect. You will see that with fast camera movements over uniform colours. So like the clouds in Blade Runner 2049, you will see some dirty screen effect there. Also with some sports content, you will see it. Although on this TV, there is a definite improvement over a lot of the competing LCDs out there, thanks to what TCL are doing here in a number of zones. So watching Premier League football, it was largely DSE free. I also watched some NFL and it looked great on this TV. When you come to film content at 24 frames per second, then it looks really, really good. It's excellent, it's fluid, it has the correct pull down applied, and it's free from induced judder with that kind of content. And then moving to 50Hz broadcast content that we get here in the UK. I also noticed no visible artifacts or frame drops or frame skipping when motion clarity was switched off. So in my opinion, and if you're looking for my recommendations here, then leave the motion settings off or set to very, very low in the custom settings for watching things like sports. Of course, being a VA panel and an LCD TV, viewing angles are not great, but when viewed directly on, even in a dark room environment, it's excellent. There's not a lot of blooming going on there, the suppression does work, and there's no visible haloing. For console and PC gamers out there, this TV's not messing around either. You get 2 full bandwidth, 48GB per second, HDMI 2.1 ports, which means that PC gamers are getting 4K 144Hz support, which goes up to 288Hz with the game accelerator. For console gamers, you also get 4K 120Hz Dolby Vision HDR, AMD FreeSync Premium Pro and ALLM, and of course input lag is really good as well. 4K 60 comes in at 13.2 milliseconds. In the performance mode in 4K 60 you can get that down to 9.2 milliseconds, and with 120Hz this drops down to a blistering fast 4.7 milliseconds. Moving on to sound, and the C7K boasts a 6.2.2 Bang & Olufsen 60-watt sound system, and it does sound wide and spacious, especially for movies. It also supports DTS. However, like most flat panel TVs, it does lack that weight or deep bass for movie playback. It's perfectly functional for everyday use, but for cinematic enthusiasts, you'll still be better with an external soundbar. Let's get down to the final verdict. I posed a question right at the start, and TCL were claiming that the C7K would be that TV to have all of those features but at an excellent price point and have the performance. Well, I think they've done it. The TCL C7K is another incredibly impressive QD mini LED TV from the brand. So who's the TV great for? Well, if you're going to use it in a really bright living room, then the peak brightness is great, and that 600 and odd nits when it comes to full screen brightness, you don't need it. You don't even need it in a great big bright room, but it's there if you do need it. You can get nice bright colourful images and it's going to work great in that kind of environment. Even in a dark room, if you're watching directly on and you don't expect too much from the TV when it comes to movie viewing, then it's a great TV for that as well. For gamers, 2 full spec HDMI 2.1 ports and 4.7 milliseconds at 120Hz make it a great top tier choice for cheap gaming. And if you are somebody who's looking for value and your budget is firmly in the mid-range, then this TCL gives you everything you're probably going to need at the price point, and it is a best buy option. Now, like I say, it's not perfect. There are minor HDMI clipping issues when you go over 1000 nits. There's off-axis blooming and clouding that you would expect to see from an LCD TV. This doesn't have the WHVA panel that the C8K has, which is outstanding, but even just having the HVA panel in here, it's great contrast. Look at it directly on with some ambient light and use it in a normal viewing environment, and all of those traditional LCD drawbacks are very much mitigated and less of an issue. So if you're shopping around the £600 to £800 range, then go and audition this TV. It will do a great job in a family living room or in a second room. So what do you think? Has TCL actually nailed this in terms of budget flagship territory? Let me know in the comments below, and if it's a TV that interests you, let me know why. Also, if there's anything that we haven't covered yet this year in terms of TVs, we're not suddenly going to stop right now because there's still lots of great TVs out there, and none of them are going to get replaced till much later next year. So if there are things you want us to see, whether it's TV, whether it's AV, or whether it's hi-fi, then again, let us know in the comments section below. And if you did find my review here helpful, then please do hit that like button and subscribe to the channel for lots more in-depth TV, AV and hi-fi reviews. And if you want to really deep dive into the testing that I did with this TV, then of course you can read the full review at AVForums.com, and also check out Europe's largest AV and hi-fi community over there, where you'll find owners of this TV that can answer your questions, or just tech-minded people exactly the same as you, asking questions and helping each other out. Head over to AVForums.com. I'm Phil Hinton, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye.